everybody. Cheers. Happy Wednesday. Whew, made it halfway through the week. And what a week it's been. Hope everybody has had a very wonderful new year so far, and that you all had a safe and happy and fun New Year's. This is the first Trades Lady Happy Hour of 2022. How crazy is that? I feel like the last 2 years were a total blur. Cheers if you're with me on that one. Hopefully 2022 is better than our last couple of years. I know I'm ready for it, so I'm sure you guys are too. But in that time, have had an incredible run with these Trades Lady Happy Hours. It's been a ton of fun doing them. It's been a ton of fun meeting all of the incredible women that I've gotten to meet through these, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed meeting them and hearing their stories as well, maybe in following along on their pages. If you are new to Trades Lady Happy Hour, this is the weekly show where we get to hang out with a different awesome tradeswoman each week. The point of these is to show that there are a ton of amazing women out there doing amazing work in all sorts of different trades and places where you generally don't expect to see women, where women are by far the minority. And it's awesome to be able to celebrate them. They generally are not celebrated. You see the folks like myself and Faye and some of the other ladies who are out there on TV, but a lot of ladies don't necessarily, or a lot of folks don't necessarily know that there's a ton of other women out there just quietly kicking butt in their trades all across the country and in fact all across the world. So this is about that. It's about celebrating those women and sharing their stories and introducing them to you all. So thank you all for tuning in. Those of you who are new, welcome. Those of you who have been hanging out with me doing these over the last year and a half, thank you for coming back each week and hanging with me. Today we have, for our kickoff of 2022, we've got a really cool woman I'm very excited to hang out with. Her name is Kimberly Dimmick. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And she is, she's had experience in a couple of different male-dominated fields. She is a certified Yamaha technician. She works on boats, which is really cool. But she's also had a past in construction and working on construction equipment. So she's kind of got experience in a couple of different areas of the male-dominated trades. So it'll be interesting to hear her stories. She's 100% badass. She is 100% goofball. I love following her on Instagram because it is always something fun and goofy. And I'm excited to have her join and get to know a little bit more about her. I've never met Kimberly in real life. So this is our first time meeting and getting to hang out for a little bit. So let's see if she has joined the room yet. There she is. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic. Are you at work right now? That's a garage door behind you.
I come back for the quietness.
I totally understand that. So are you the only one there right now?
Absolutely. I don't want anybody else here.
Nice. Very cool. Thank you, first of all, for agreeing to come on this with me. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm honored. I'm freaking out, so give me a little bit to warm up.
No freaking out. There's no need to freak out. It's just me and you, girl. Ignore all those random comments from people and just ignore all of that. It's just me and you hanging. So would you mind, I just told you that ignore everybody, but now I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to everybody. Just in a nutshell, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll dig into the nitty gritty of stuff.
Okay. I'm Kimberly Dimmick. I'm old.
Whatever.
Graduated high school in 96. And
oh, so we're the same age.
Okay, cool. Then I'm not old. Good girl.
We're young. We're
Definitely.
young.
Definitely. Well, I started road construction right off. And let's see. I don't know. Let's see. I started road construction. I was there for 10 years and then took a little break to have my daughter. And then I luckily got in with the boat company. My husband actually worked for the boat company.
Okay.
And luckily got my foot in the door. Here's a little story for you. My husband needed help. The cable company right next door needed the boom truck fixed, the rear end fixed. So my husband come up here to fix, and he called me and said he needed my help, that nobody was helping him. So I quietly come up and snuck in and started working. Apparently word got back to the boss man that was here, and he liked that a lady could turn wrenches. So he quickly called and asked if I'd like a job. So I said, absolutely. So anyway.
All right. Very cool. So now you've been working on boats ever since.
For 5 years, yes, sir.
5 years. All right. Very cool. So let's go back in time a little bit. How did you get into construction and working on construction equipment? Like, how did that story go?
Okay, well, I just graduated, didn't know what I wanted to do, never turned wrenches in my life. Nobody in my family was a mechanic. My dad took everything to Goodyear and got everything fixed by somebody else. And that didn't work off so good. But anywho, so I was working at Best Western. I was doing housekeeping, laundry, inspections. I started doing a little bit of maintenance. Well, there was a construction group that stayed there called the Miller Group. And they were always in and out, different guys all the time, dirty as all get out because we had to clean their sheets and stuff. It'd be black. Anyway, I guess one of them had a rough night and got drunk and decided to burn his mattress. So the next morning, when we come in, I was doing inspections and realized there was a hole in the mattress. So needless to say, the boss man had to come out, and we talked and laughed about it, whatever. He paid for it. And he said, "Why don't you come work for us?" And I said, "A construction company?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "You hire girls?" "Yeah." I said, "Oh, I didn't even think about it. It didn't even cross my mind." And I said, "Okay." So I filled out the application, got hired immediately, of course, because he was a boss. And my first day on the job, he sent me, oh yeah, by the way, I was from Atlanta, Georgia. I did forget all that introduction, sorry.
That's okay.
But still, I went from Atlanta, Georgia, the first day of my job, that Sunday night, because it was a nighttime, was to drive 4.5 hours to Johnson City, Tennessee. No clue who I was meeting. I don't know if I'd do it this day and age, but then it was didn't know who I was meeting. There's 4 guys on the side of the road I was supposed to meet.
Oh my gosh.
Next to a piece of equipment. So I found 4.5 hours later, I found them. We gathered our stuff, went to the hotel, and first thing in the morning, we started working. And I loved it. I started out the box.
What a crazy story. I absolutely love everything about that.
Nobody stopped me. My parents didn't stop me. So I guess I just thought it was okay. So I went.
That's so incredible. I love, first, I love so much about that. Like, I love the fact that it flies in the face of so many people. I'm sure you've heard this all the time. Like, they meet a woman who does this kind of work and they're like, oh, your dad must have done this, or your husband does this. Like, you didn't come from that background at all. That was the same as my story, but I hear it all the time. Like, oh, did your daddy teach you this? No,
Right.
No, came by it naturally. But
Right.
I love that you were up for that adventure, that you were like, sure, why not knowing at all what you were getting into. What about it made you say, sure, why the heck not? Let's just change everything up.
I guess I really didn't know I didn't know what job I was going for out of high school. Everyone said you need to have it figured out. I didn't. Still don't really, but
who does?
All right. But I don't know. I grew up, had 2 brothers, an older and a younger. So I felt comfortable. The guys wasn't a big deal for me, I guess. I never thought twice about it because I'm always a go-getter. Whatever job I do 100%. Sometimes I hate that, but sometimes it's good. But I start at the bottom, and I've noticed a pattern with my life in working. I start at the bottom, and I have to work up every level and master it. Good thing I'm not a video game person, because I wouldn't do anything else but that. So I stay away from video games.
That's smart. There's certain things I stay away from because I know that once I get started, it'll be all over.
But kind of like with the Best Western, I did housekeeping. I mastered that. I went to inspecting the rooms. I went to laundry room. There's an old man who looked like he needed a helper. So I said, hey, can I learn maintenance? So he started teaching me maintenance. So all I had left there was front desk. So I really didn't care for that. So when he come along and said, you want a job? I was sure. I was just ecstatic he wanted a girl. I was just like, a girl? So I didn't know what I would be doing as being a girl. But so
So what did that look like? You show up, you've no idea what you're getting into. What were the early stages of that job like? I mean, you had a ton to learn, I'm sure. Talk about a steep learning curve. What did that look like?
Well, when I showed up, we did asphalt milling, recycling. So we had a huge milling machine, and we could do a full lane, half lane. And when I started, you work out there. The bottom person is guiding trucks. It's kind of like a game that I put everything into a game perspective. But there's a conveyor belt that sticks out, and as you're grinding the asphalt, it's got to go somewhere or it'll stop. So as the conveyor belt's sticking out, the dump truck backs up to you, and you have to keep that spitting into the back of the dump truck. So pretty much you playing a game all day long. If you let it spill, you get yelled at, and then you have to shovel. So, but that was the bottom. Going and getting the tools for people. See, I didn't even know what a crescent wrench was. I didn't know the names of tools. Now I knew a screwdriver and acted like I worked on my bicycle back in the day, but I didn't know the name of tools or anything like that. So I did start from the bottom.
That's incredible. So how do you wind up going from working on the construction crew to working on the construction equipment?
Very quickly, as soon as you ended the night, you would start working on the equipment. We didn't have a company. Yeah, it was awful.
So it was the same people. You do the work and work on the vehicles.
It was a 5-man crew. So
okay, I did not know that. Is that normal in construction crews?
now, absolutely not. Now, all the milling machines then were manual, where you had to do everything hands-on, which I loved because I feel like I learned that section of that trade from the bottom up because I got to do it manual. Now it's all digital. You type in some buttons and the machine will go for you. You rarely have to have an operator. I mean, you do, but you don't have to have a 5-man crew no more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. How were the guys that you were working with? You show up, you meet these 4 other folks, you know nothing, you're brand new, you're the only chick there. I'm assuming back then there probably weren't a whole lot of women doing this kind of work. How did they respond to you?
Well, I did ask them after time went by what they expected when I showed up, and they thought I was going to be some big old broody fat lady. And I was like, okay. I was a tiny little blonde girl, just the same as I am now. But so they told me that, and I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, well, at least it was a little bit better than what you're expecting. But they were nice. They didn't ever give me a problem. Now I've heard about just about all of it, just running mouths and stuff like that. So you can't be a wimp, I can tell you that. And you just gotta let it go in one ear and out the other. But sometimes we don't want it to. But anyway, but they were pretty decent. I started off at the bottom, so of course I was the go-getter. Go get me this, go get me that. And I learned tools really quick. Here's a funny one for you. So this guy was on top of the machine working on we had 2 engines in our machine. He was working on an engine, and he hollered at me, hey, give me a pipe wrench. I had no idea what a pipe wrench was. So I went to the work truck, and I was looking, and all of a sudden I seen this pipe sticking out the back of a truck. So I was like, pipe? So I grabbed it, and it had a handle. So to me, it was kind of like a water box thing. It had nothing to do with what he wanted. Of course, you know what a pipe wrench is. But anyway, so I grabbed this big old pipe with a T-handle, and I slowly slide it up there, and what the crap is that? I knew it was wrong, but I had to try. So I threw it in the truck, and he had to describe it for me. And my dad called that a monkey wrench. So I didn't know, which my dad didn't know tools, so he just called that a monkey wrench. And anyway, so that was really embarrassing. And I didn't let that happen. I really paid attention to learning what they needed and memorizing what tools we use for this job and just picking up on little stuff like that.
That's awesome. I love that. You get embarrassed like that once, and that's all it takes for you to be like, all right, I gotta learn. That's awesome. So how long did you work with them?
I worked with that crew for about 3 years, and then I got offered
The same crew, same guys.
The same crew, yes. Well, my boss man stayed the same, and the operator was the same. The low man usually come and go, so I was kind of middleman then. So we had our truck guider would come and go, but then finally the operator decided he didn't want to show up one day, so that's how I got scooted up to operate. So then, yep. So then I get to operate, and I did that for about a year or so, whatever, just learning everything. And the boss man come to me one day and asked me, "You want to be a foreman?" I was like, I didn't think I was ready. And I told him, I was like, I don't know if I'm really ready, honestly. And I say, if I don't take it, who's taking it? And he told me this dude's name. And I was like, oh, no. I knew I was better than him. So I was like, no, not having it. So I took the job. And then 7 years later, I was a boss lady.
I love it. Okay, I've got to ask. So the boss guy, the one that originally offered you, it's the same guy that originally offered you the job, yeah?
Right. Yes.
Did you ever talk to him about like what made him in that moment say, "Come work for me," and whether he ever, expected or thought that you'd get as far as you did? Have you guys talked about that at all?
Yeah, and kind of we did. He did have something up his sleeve. He was trying to have a first woman milling crew on the East Coast. He said I was the first woman foreman for the East Coast. He said he knew of one on the West Coast, middle, but not no one for Atlanta. All the southeastern states is what we did.
Interesting.
But so he had something up his sleeve to do an all-girl milling crew, get us in a magazine, which I'm all for that. But he would send me girls, and some would cut it and some wouldn't.
Right.
So when I
just like some of the guys cut it and some of them don't.
Exactly. So we never did. We got up to 3. We never did make a full 5-man crew. So we never got in a magazine.
That's all right. That's still cool as hell. So you had 3 women on a team?
3 women.
At one point? That's cool. Was there a big difference in the experience of being the only girl in a 5-man crew, or being a part of a more diverse crew, both men and women?
I worked my butt off. I didn't trust the people that I had because I was a new boss and I had to learn as I would go too. So I wouldn't let my crew touch the machine because I was mean. But I mean, I really wasn't a good boss the first year or two because I had to prove myself. I mean, I had to go out to all these job sites and talk to superintendents and walk up to this little bitty girl and talk to them and have that attitude that I got this. And then I had to show them I got this, and I did. So then a guy come around and touch my machine and put a bump in the road. That means you have to pick your machine up, start over and get it smoothed out, or that's not happening. So I wouldn't let anybody touch anything. So when that third girl come around too, she was just allowed to truck guide, and she didn't cut it because she couldn't shovel fast enough. And it was just, I don't know. I did have a lady operator. She was my best friend in high school. And, I started working for the company first, and then she come in a couple years later and worked on another crew. So then we did have 2 girl operators. Nice. And then finally they got their sense together and gave her to me, and we kicked butt. So
nice.
Me and her stayed together for a while.
That's awesome. I feel like this was back in the day, right? There weren't a lot of women out there way back in the day, right? I'm with you though, girl. Seriously, like things have changed a lot, and I think nowadays we have social media. We get to see other women like us. We have all of these different pages and women out there who are a face of women in the trades. And back then we didn't have that. Like we were operating in a vacuum, and for you to be come into this not knowing anything, and then be on the construction side, particularly walking into jobs like you're talking about, and having to show that you knew what you're doing and then have to back it up. Did you always have the confidence to put yourself out there and do that, or how did you learn how to carry yourself in a way that demanded that respect when you walked onto a job site? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Just be a daddy, just I don't know.
It just comes naturally to you, huh?
Definitely. So at least, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to keep saying that, but I just do it. I guess I pursue the challenge, and that's always been in me, was get the challenge on anything, whatever it is. And I guess that's what drives me, is just that challenge. And then just to go back a little bit, the first challenge, high school, I played basketball, middle school, high school, and I honestly, this has nothing to do with mechanics, but I wanted to be the first woman NBA person. And my year
Didn't
in
you
coming,
say you're short?
Do what?
Didn't you
I
say
would have
that
been
you're short?
point guard. I was the
Oh,
one who carried the ball and tripped and all that stuff like that. So, so anyway, but my goal was to be the first woman in the NBA, work hard, so forget where I'm going, pursue that challenge. I've always pushed for something hard, and it's always kind of seemed like that man dominant field, NBA, because when I would have graduated, that's when they first started the women in whatever NBA
yeah.
for the women. I'd
Yeah.
have been so disappointed because it had been women, Yeah, I'd have been on the team, but the goal was, I guess, to beat the guys. I don't know. I love them to death, but to me, if I beat the guys, then I know I'm right up there with them. I guess that's just the challenge. Not being mean whatsoever, but just that's a
Yeah.
big deal for me. So
Well, yeah, I
anyway.
mean, definitely that's a theme, right? Going after things that women aren't traditionally seen in. And so it was the challenge of it. You enjoyed the challenge. That makes sense.
And it still is. It always is.
Always. I think that's what I love about this work, working on vehicles, working on whatever, all the technology is so constantly changing that it is constantly a new challenge. Like you can master it kind of, but you're always still learning and doing new things.
Definitely. I'm learning something new every day here, working on. I've never drove a boat until I worked for this company. I've been on a boat, but I've never drove a boat, worked on a boat, nothing. I learn something new every day, different sound that you hear where that different miss or something that's different.
What made you leave construction? Oh, you said it because your daughter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of got a little upset towards the end, and I just didn't feel like I had the backing. So that kind of come with being a female too. And I did sit down with them, and right before I left, and put in my notice and stuff. And I had already had it made up in my mind. There was no them stopping me. But when I did fire a woman, the construction that we did was very dangerous, and I was to the T. Safety meetings. I did everything I was supposed to do to cover my tail in case there was an accident or anything. And there was, but anyway, so I just didn't feel like I had that backing that I needed. When I would fire a girl or a lady, they would take her and put her on another crew. Well, if she can't cut it on the woman crew, she's not really going to cut it on the guy crew. So it was just stuff like that, just not the backing that I wanted. So anyway.
Okay, fair enough. And do you feel like it was because you're a woman, or is just the culture of that side of the industry that you weren't getting the backing?
Yeah, I wasn't getting my feelings hurt because I was a woman or nothing like that. But I think it was just the manager at the time. It wasn't nothing with the construction or the company. It was just the guy I was dealing with at the time. He just didn't. You're gonna run into hard heads, sometimes. So I just knew it was my time to walk away. I had a lot of experience under my belt, and here I went with my attitude. I felt like I'd be able to apply and have 10 years experience. And so I actually met my husband working that construction, and we talked about it, and we left at the same time, and then I had my little girl. So.
Oh, all right. So the little girl came after leaving construction. Right. Okay. All right. Interesting. So, so then you take a break while you're raising your daughter. Is that correct? For a little bit?
Right.
So then the boat thing came along just because of that incident of coming in to help your husband out.
Right. We moved to Tennessee to help take care of my mother-in-law, and that was about 8 years ago. So when we moved up here, my husband started working, doing his own thing, and I never wanted. Yeah, we worked before on different construction. We worked a few times together, not a lot. That's just when we knew of each other. We weren't together then. But anyway, he had his own job here, and I never pursued working with him. Give him his own time, give him a break, So that just worked out the way it did. And we get along good enough that we can work for each other. But I forgot where I was going with that. Sorry.
How you wound up in the boat place. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was done. Go ahead.
So you started at the boat place. You showed up to do work, and then they just offered you a job from that point, like right off the bat?
Well, I had, oh yeah, what we were talking about was I was kind of self-employed the first 3 years before the 5 years of working here. I kind of cut grass. My mother-in-law had some grass, a couple yards that she would cut. Well, she got down, so I kind of took over for her. So I was just doing my own thing. I had a few old ladies I took care of, and they were next door to this boating company. It's a small little lake town, so everybody knows everybody.
Okay.
And they have a boat washing detail also. So every now and then when the washer didn't want to wash, they called and I said, yeah, I'll wash some boats. So I did that for a few years just so they knew of me. But I never had any, I wasn't going to ask to do what my husband did. I was going to let him have his own thing. But just that one day when we come in and help, they already knew who I was. And then
They didn't have any idea what you were capable of, though, did they?
Right. I never told them I was a mechanic. They never asked. They didn't, I don't just tell people. I know they don't care, So, right. So the boss man actually wasn't even up here. The guy who runs the cable company, I believe, thank you, next door, but I think he actually put in the good word for me and kind of talked me up like, wow, she did good, And then the boss man talked to my husband and said, talk to your wife and see if she wants a full-time job. And I said, absolutely.
All right. So you work with your husband now?
I do. He has a different bay a couple of doors down, but I'm over here in my bay right now. So
how is that? You don't hear often, but every once in a while I hear of husband and wives who work in the same shops together or own businesses together. How is that, balancing that out?
We're cool with it. I guess starting at the Miller Group, I think it kind of trained us for the way we worked there. It was when you're doing something, you already knew what was coming next. So you already was there with the tool if you paid attention to help. Well, it's kind of like our relationship. He does something, I already know what he's going to do next. And then here working, if we're having to move boats and stuff, I'm his groundman. I just pick right in. We don't even have to talk. We just do stuff and get it done. We don't argue. We don't, we leave work at work and go home, chill.
That's how you know you've got a good relationship, when you can handle spending that much time together.
Definitely. He's my best friend, so.
Oh, cheers to that. That's awesome.
Definitely.
How long have you guys been married?
My daughter's 17, so we're going on 19 years.
Nice. Congratulations. That's awesome. So your daughter's all grown up now, huh?
She thinks she is. She'll be a senior next year.
She's what? I'm sorry?
She'll be a senior next year in high school.
Does she know what she wants to do? Is she following in mom's footsteps at all?
This year she's been talking about welding. I've got her dabbling in that a little bit, but she was doing criminal justice in her high school right now and drone classes and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know what she's going to do. I'm not sure.
Right. Well, hey, you started out in hotels and look at where you're at now. So you never know.
Right?
That's awesome. So you wound up going on to become a certified Yamaha tech. How did that happen? Are the boats that you work with predominantly Yamaha powered, or did you go sent to training? What's the story?
The company we work for, they specialize in Bennington pontoons. They take that name. It's the only one around here, and they sell that, and they sell their Yamaha. What's the word for it? We specialize in Yamahas. Yes, we only sell and advertise Yamahas. We will work on other Mercuries and everything else. If you're a customer of ours and have other stuff, yes, we'll work on it and get you parts. But our main section is Yamaha.
Okay. So did you get to go off for like formal training with them?
So now that I'm back in Tennessee, the Yamaha school is in Georgia. So
of course.
I know. So we got to go back and visit my parents. Well, my mom while I was down there. But every 2 years you got to go to Yamaha school to keep your certifications good. So this coming or next year I'll be going back to school. But we've been a few times down there.
How long of a program is it for your initial certification with them?
Well, they have a ton of classes that they want you to go through. They have one that's a 2-week class, and then they just go from a helm station to inline to working on the lower to the Yamaha electrical system. There's all kinds of just different little classes that you have to take, and sometimes they're a week to 2 weeks. It just depends on the class. So it's really not that long.
Except you just got to keep going back every once in a while.
Got to keep on, and there's classes you can do online and stuff to keep it up.
Nice. Did did you find how much of the stuff did you feel like transferred over from working on construction vehicles, now working on boats? Was the learning curve super steep, or did you feel like you were able to pick it up pretty quickly?
Pick it up pretty quickly because my husband is a Jeep lover. So, needless to say, you can say we're master Jeep Cherokee mechanics. We've tore the whole bottom end. Anyway, we can take that thing apart and put it back together. But so we've always worked on our own vehicles and stuff like that. And the inboard motors on a boat is like a truck, like a Chevy truck motor. So all you got to do is turn your head the right way and you're looking at a truck motor, except the exhaust is different. The exhaust has water instead of the air. So anyway, so I felt pretty confident going into it because I already kind of I knew how to take the part and fix it. All the outside of the motor, I've always had confidence in anything like that. My husband was great with the inside of the motor. So ever since I've been with him, I've been picking his brain for the inside of the motor. Well, going to Yamaha school, they have them, it broke apart into so many pieces for you to actually see. And that's what I wanted to see, how the pistons work and how the cams go and all that. They taught us how to shim buckets, and I was about all that stuff. But that's what I want to learn, the stuff I don't know.
Yeah.
So I am learning a lot, but I guess it's a little easy because their motors they're just smaller than car motors and milling machine motors. So you feel like I guess, but
Interesting. Did you find any difference in the two fields, right? Going from construction equipment to going to boats, any differences in the culture and how it was for you as a woman?
As a woman, I don't know. I just felt like I've always fit in. I had never really. Everybody I've been around seemed to. There's one or two people that don't really accept you, but for the most part, you are pretty much accepted. But
that's awesome.
Man,
in both of those fields.
Definitely, I do.
That's awesome. That is fantastic to hear. It's always interesting to me because I speak with women from all sorts of different trades, and some of the different areas seem to be much more accepting and like it's a non-issue. Like you're saying, like male, female, whatever, doesn't really matter. Some people are jerks, some people aren't. That's kind of just the way life is in general. And then there's other areas of the trades that are not so friendly or accommodating.
Now I'm saying this from my work ethic. I'm gonna get in and I'm a go-getter. And like in construction, when the guys would step back to smoke, that was my moment to get in and let's do this. Now they're not doing nothing. That's when I would start touching stuff. I didn't smoke, so that was my time to shine. Then they realized that, oh, she can do that. So they started smoking a lot more, but that benefited me. That helped me. So,
they thought they were hurting you by going and smoking more, letting you do the work. Meanwhile, you're excited about it.
Exactly. I started moving up. That's exactly what I wanted.
That's awesome. Did you ever get in trouble? Did anybody ever give you a hard time about doing that? Like working through while other people are taking breaks or like climb? I ask because when I was in my first dealership, I would work through lunch because I was kind of that same mindset. Like I wanted to learn as much as I could. I wanted to do as much as I could. And during lunch, everybody was gone and it was quiet and I could just do stuff and learn. And I got in trouble because they basically told me that it was unfair for me to keep working while everybody else was taking a break because then it meant I could get more hours than everybody else. And they were like, I was cheating or something. And I got in trouble for it.
Yeah, wow, goodness. No, I'm sure they would probably want me to work through lunch here. She wouldn't pay me, but she'd let me work through lunch. But on the construction, that's a totally different atmosphere right there because, for one, hope nobody gets called on this conversation, but you didn't have breaks. You didn't have lunches. You didn't have official breaks. We worked 100, I'd say average 100 in the summer, 110 hours a week. So I went from a size 12, 13 to a 5, 6, the smallest I ever been. I actually worked my butt off. I didn't know what it was to sleepwalk until I was in the middle of the highway holding on the machine sleeping, and then you'd wake up. I mean, it was
wow.
pushed you. We would go 32 hours straight sometimes before I would be like, please, I got to go to sleep, because you would start getting delirious. And being road construction, you're out there on the highway. That's a little bit dangerous. So.
Is that the norm?
It was then for us for 10 years straight. It was go, 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 go. But now I'm sure people probably put their foot down a little more. I guess it just depends on the company and how far you let the company push you. Because I could have stood up. I was DOT certified. I had to go by log books and do all this paperwork and stuff. So officially, we shouldn't have been working. But all the other companies at the time, I mean, it was around the 96 Olympics. So there was a lot of road construction going on. So just at the time, people were go, go, go. And
Wow.
you just good until you'd have to fight with your boss. I got to have sleep.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess that prepares you, though. If you can survive that, you can survive just about anything. My gosh. I can't imagine they still get away with that today, but you never know.
I'm sure there's some out there that do. I'm sure. Because I thought about calling, but I knew it wouldn't do no good. I like the money. When you're getting in the money, you know, we work so much you didn't even have time to.
Interesting question for you, because I talked to men who say, I would never let my kids do this work, you know, especially in given experiences like you're talking about, working 32 hours straight, like really just the intense work environment, the intense kind of work. A lot of guys will say, not only for their daughters, but for their sons too, like, I don't want them to do this kind of work. How would you feel if your daughter, or if you had a son, if they wanted to go into this kind of work, from your experiences?
I wouldn't want her to do it.
Honestly, tell me why. Tell me about that.
Because I work so hard. I know you're supposed to want your kids to have it easier. And all the old men told me then that your skin's going to be like leather when you get older because you're out in the sun so much. And it is, you know, I can tell a difference. But there's just, if she don't have to work that hard, I don't want her to. If she has a passion behind it, I'm not going to stop her by all means. But I'd rather her, I know it will be easier. If she wanted to get into milling machine, then we do have a friend that owns his own company, and I would send her that way, because I know he's not going to talk. He's going to talk right to her. You know, he's a professional person. So
yeah,
there'll be certain places I would send her, but
yeah. Interesting. All right. All right. Let's talk about nitty gritty of working on vehicles and working on boats and whatnot. What's your favorite stuff to work on?
I love troubleshooting. I love working with hydraulics too, like hydraulical. I don't know why I love the smell of burnt hydraulical. And burnt
because
gear.
There's something wrong with us. That's what it is. I'm telling you, like, women will walk into the shop where I'm working and be like, why does that smell so good? I'm like, I don't know, because we're messed up in the head. Like, there is something wrong with us. But
I guess my favorite is troubleshooting, whether it's anything. If it's at the house, automobiles, wiring, just anything. I want to find out what was the problem, and then I'll just take my time to fix it. But I'm usually prompt on fixing it. But the funnest part is troubleshooting, because that feeling you get when you find, you know,
yeah,
when you find out what's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've always thought it was interesting, at least for me, and it sounds like for you as well, how knowledge of kind of one area of working on things, whether, you know, for you is construction equipment and boats, you know, for me it was cars, but, you know, learning that translated into like everywhere else in my life. Like nothing else scared me, because I knew I could take it apart and put it back together again, right? Like I knew I could figure it out. So it's interesting to kind of think about that and see how it translates into the rest of our lives, you know?
Right. I was always, when I started working on cars after construction, I'd always keep a belt in I had a Ford Taurus, a grandma car. So I keep an extra belt and extra all this stuff in my car in case I was to break down. And then that way I never felt, you know, I didn't have to call AAA or nobody to come help me, because I'd be able to fix my own stuff. And when my husband and I got together, we did get into a few arguments, because when the belt would break, I'd be like, I got this. And he wanted to be the manly thing, you know, to kind of help me. But for a long time, I wouldn't let him touch my cars. Now, Change the
He
oil.
learned quick, huh?
Right, right.
He wouldn't have stuck around for long if he didn't learn quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, how about your least favorite thing working on vehicles?
Changing tires, or taking a tire off. I guess because you have to start there. More, when you're doing front end or rear end work, you got to start there, and that's the one thing we do at home. I tell him, take the tires off, and I'll get started. I can rebuild everything, but I just hate taking. I guess 'cause it's 5 or 6 lug nuts, and you got to do that. How many times? 5, 10, 15, 20 times.
I love it. I hate doing oil changes. Like, I hate them. I hate doing them so much. Every time I'm like, ugh.
Definitely. Doing them here at the boat place, that's kind of gotten like that. I want to get a ticket now where I get to fix something where it hadn't ran in a while instead of just an everyday oil change.
Yeah.
They get a little boring after a while.
Do you feel like you'll stick with boats for a while, or do you feel like you're the type of person who gets to a certain level of achievement and then you're ready for the next challenge and learn something completely different?
I feel like I'll stay here as long as she lets me stay here.
So you have a female boss?
Well, our actual boss man, it was a husband and wife. They own the company. He actually just passed away in September.
Oh,
So that's yeah. But his wife is taking over, and she was involved already, so she knows. And she's trying. She's gonna not trying. She is gonna keep the boat place open, and so we're working for her now.
Nice.
So same name of the company and everything. But I don't. As long as she don't go nowhere, then we ain't going nowhere.
All right, that's awesome. Very cool. It's good to have found a place that's a home, like that's a good place for you. That's awesome.
It opens the door to a lot of different stuff, like going coastal. I can go to Florida. I can come out to California, any lakes, so it opens the door for not just car automotive, but being familiar with the boats. That's awesome.
Well, if this shop ever goes away, I gotta hook you up with a woman who's a boat painter. Between the two of you, you can build some awesome stuff. You can do all the mechanical and build them, and then she can make them pretty. And
Definitely.
That would be an awesome powerhouse team.
Right.
I love it. So, if you're talking, do you have, well, how do I want to say this? In talking to other younger people, maybe talking to the younger you, like what would you say to yourself if you had the opportunity to, kind of going back to that girl who was maybe when you were in high school, or that girl when you were working in the hotels? What would you say to her about life and this career?
Just keep pursuing that challenge. Just keep your head up and just keep doing it. Just go for it. And I don't let anybody bring me down. So I don't want to. I'm Mr. or Miss Positive. No matter what anybody says, I have to say something positive, and I've caught on to it. And sometimes it makes you sick, but it's always positivity. So just keep your head up, pursue that challenge. And I mean, I was nervous about doing this live. Still a little nervous, but I did it,
You're doing great. You're awesome.
So you got to put yourself out there and, do stuff that's going to make you uncomfortable. And if you cheat your way through life, you'll never know how good you really are.
I like that.
Thank you.
Do you feel like you were raised to have that attitude of take challenges head on and just go after it, or is that something that's was just instinctively in you, or you got to later in life?
I think so. I was always pushed by both my parents we were always in sports, always doing something, and just whatever we wanted to do, just go, do it to the best. Was always just told that, do your best. And I took it to heart, and I do my best every time I do something. I think my dad pushed it a lot. I grew up with cop parents. My dad was an Atlanta cop. My mom was a Clayton County cop, which was a Georgia cop also, and that's how they met. So I thought I was going to be a cop, but it all changed after high school, I guess. But
what made you decide not to do that?
Um, well, let's
Uh-oh.
see.
There's a story there.
I decided I didn't need to be a cop. No,
Were you
I
a
don't know.
troublemaker when you were younger?
I did. Right outside of high school, I got into a little bit of trouble, and it's always cop kids, preacher kids. You know the story goes. So I did get in a little bit of trouble, and not much. I never did get in trouble with the law. So I do have a clean record. Thank you, thank you.
That's good.
My brothers don't, but I do.
I love it. I love the guilty look on your face too. You're like, well.
I had to figure out how to word that. But
You handled it well.
but my daughter's thinking about it, so
Okay.
skips a generation or two. So.
Right, apparently. Oh my goodness, I love it. Did you ever have times where that wavered, that confidence, that positivity, or was that's just through and through who you are?
No, there is times where I need a little encouragement, and that's when I will text my husband or walk over there to him or something and just be like, hey, kind of discuss what we're doing. You think this is right? Should I do this? And we kind of conversate around stuff, and just an extra, okay, you got this. All right. And then same with him, it's not just me. Sometimes he'll be like, I'll catch him on days where he's just like scrambled. I'm like, dude, get it together. You got this. Okay. And then he'll get it done, so it goes both ways.
Yeah.
But so him, he's the one I confide in. So
it's good to have that. I think it's so important to have that. And that's valuable too. I think it's really important to remember. I think a lot of women, particularly younger women coming in early on, they doubt themselves and we question, we should know more. Why don't we know more? And we tend to forget that the guys do the same thing. Really, the guys are going through the same thing where periodically they're banging their head against the wall, don't know what they're doing, need support and help too. Like it's not just us.
Right. Now in the construction field, I did have a few friends there where there was a few guy friends, or my boss, whatever. I did call him every now and then when I first become a boss lady, because you didn't have that full confidence. So I'd call, well, it wasn't texting then, it was calling, but anyway, I'd call and ask a question or two to him, or we had radios in, but everyone could hear it. But I'd radio him just to confirm before I'd done something. I will ask a question before I totally make $1 million decision, mess up.
Yeah, I mean, in that line of work, for sure. Yeah. Like you make a mistake, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of, or it's safety, somebody gets hurt.
Right. Oh yeah.
I think that's an important thing that we tend, as tradespeople in general, male, female, doesn't matter. Like, to have that fine line between, yes, I'm confident, yes, I can do this, but also be able to say, I don't know, and be willing to be humble and ask the questions.
Right. That's how it was in Yamaha school. Everyone that was there was a bunch of older guys, which was cool. I felt comfortable, didn't have a lot of young people. And I was the only girl. There was a lady instructor, but I was the only lady at the time, and I made a good grade. I did high in my class. But
of course you did.
Yeah. But that's where I was. They would say, well, who hadn't ever done this? And I'd raise my hand. I hadn't. I'm glad they didn't say who's ever not drove a boat. But so I did. I picked and choose what I raised my hand on. I kind of didn't want to look like totally didn't know what I was doing, but I learned a lot, of course. But anyway, they all knew what they were doing, and I didn't. So I just had to soak it up, take notes, and
And those that are willing to admit that they don't know something often get the best learning opportunities, right?
Right.
Because if you act like you know already, you never get the opportunity to actually learn it. If you're willing to say, I don't know. Oh, hey, buddy. It never fails. It never fails when I do happy hour. He's like, just got to be all up.
I saw his tail earlier. It kind of come in at you and got my attention.
All right, go, buddy. No, he's not leaving. He's just going to hang out there. I don't know what to do with him. So let's see. In our last couple of minutes that we've got here in our hour, because it goes so fast, doesn't it? Anything else you want to talk about? Things that you would like for the guys out there of the world to know, our viewers, folks that are watching this, um, about you, about women in the trades.
Um, yeah. Just do what you love. I love my job. My favorite thing to do is troubleshooting and welding. Trying to talk her into getting an aluminum welder so I can start playing with that. But just do what you like. If you don't like your job, then change it. If you don't like working on, automobile, I don't know, then don't do it. I mean, just find out what you like and figure it out and run with that, because if you like your job, you like what you're doing, and it's going to be fun, and you're going to want to learn. You're not going to dread to get up every day and go. I haven't dreaded one day working at this place. I love this place. It's always something different. We're always going to the lake, seeing the other guys at other companies, our rivals, and it's just cool. I don't want to be stuck at a desk job. I've never in my life been at a desk job, and that's a goal too. I'm going to try not to. So
I don't think that's going to be a difficult goal to reach.
yeah.
I love the simplicity of it. Like for you, it's so apparent in everything that you're saying. Like, it's just a no-brainer. Like, do what you want to do. Stop making a big deal out of it. Just do it. I think there's like a theme throughout your life that is super apparent of going after big challenges, and being willing to totally take on a new challenge unexpectedly. Like the deciding to go and pursue construction work in the first place, at the drop of a hat like that is just huge. Excuse me. And I think that's important for anybody to remember. Like, if you don't love what you're doing,
Right.
that doesn't mean it's not hard. Like, clearly it's hard work, but
Right.
if you're not enjoying it, don't do it.
Right. And I love construction. People ask me, do I miss it? I don't miss those hours. Absolutely not. But the different job every day, you traveled a lot. That's the reason why I kind of had to stop too. For one, I wasn't going to walk the highway with being pregnant. That's just stupid. But, I mean, you traveled a lot. You saw different people. It was always something different. And I would definitely recommend that if you're single and don't know what you want to do, then go to construction, because you're a different town every night, different everything. And I don't know, just
It's an adventure.
Yes, definitely take that adventure. I got to see the world a little bit, or the eastern side, for free. Got paid to do it. So cool memories, a lot of cool pictures, a lot of cool friends. So
Did you have a point in your career where you, like, earlier on, because you did kind of come into this so randomly that you wound up doing this kind of work, was there a falling in love that happened with the work? Did you get there and suddenly you were like, yes, this is what I love? Was it immediate? Did it take time to grow? Because you love what you do so much. It's so apparent. Like, I can't imagine you doing anything else because you enjoy this so much, but you came into it as a total outsider. Like, how did that transition happen?
I think when I become a boss, that
makes everything better.
send everybody away and do my own thing. But we did that one night. We had a lot of welding to do on the machine, and everybody was tired, ready to go home. So I sent him home. Me and the water truck driver had to stay. He was asleep doing his thing. I had to use the generator for welding and stuff. But so I welded from when we got off work till that morning, and just I was I guess in between all the griping and everything about all the long hours, and I didn't realize that I was falling in love with the job, because that night, I do remember that night particular, I sat back. It was in Milledgeville, Georgia. They say that's the crazy town, Georgia. So I was kind of freaked out by myself in the middle of a field welding on this huge machine all by myself, except for a guy that was asleep. And the stars and the black, just the darkness, and just took it all in, and just, this is awesome. I never thought 10, 15 years before that I would be out here by myself which I was still griping. I was by myself welding and all that stuff, but it was what I like to do. So suck it up, you know. I don't know. I guess I take a lot of moments in time and just take it in and just enjoy it. And I don't know, just take that moment in when you get a chance and appreciate it. And
Yeah.
praise God for every moment I get.
That's great. Fantastic advice. And I love that you have that definitive moment that you remember. Like,
I don't know. It's more, I don't know why it's so distinctive, but it was a lot that night. So yeah, it was just, I don't know, just took it all in that night and realized that enjoy it. You know, if you don't like what you're doing, get out of it. And then, I don't know, I feel like I became a better boss, and, you know, I could talk to, you know, I don't know, just, yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's, your perspective is an awesome one to hear. And I love how you just slowly fell in love with it, and being able to take those moments and reflect and appreciate them. I love that moment stands out for you. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, I think I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy for you that you stumbled into this career that has brought you so much success and so much joy. Because what a happy accident.
Definitely. And how cool is it for you, of all people, to find me on the internet and exploit me? Because back in the day, I mean, thank you, because nobody even knew of this lady that was the East Coast foreman, milling foreman. You know, nobody knew what I've gone through and stuff. I mean, you still really don't, but you get a little gist of it, and that I worked hard. But
yeah, no, your work ethic and your love for what you do is very clear and very apparent. And yeah, I mean, especially back when we were coming up, right? Nobody knew about us. There was no social media. Like, we were just grinding, and
we don't have many pictures. All the pictures I could post is those little disposable camera pictures. So it's hard to get a good picture in without looking like from the 50s. But
right, totally. I know. I like back in the day, and everybody's like, "Oh, how come you don't post pictures of you working?" I'm like, first of all, I'm working. So I don't really know how to take pictures of myself while I'm working. And then second of all, like, when I was coming up, like, we didn't have cameras on our phones.
Right.
It just wasn't something you did. I've got no pictures of my earlier career, like nothing.
Right. My favorite thing now is the time lapse where I can set it up and it shows. I love that. Just, wow, look at me go, you know.
Look how fast I am.
Exactly.
I love your sense of humor in your posts too. Like, I love how transparent you are about being a total goofball, that you totally own it. You know, right before I jumped on this live, I stumbled on one of your TikToks, I guess, where you're just like jumping and always like jumping in the air and just being kind of ridiculous and having so much fun. Like,
that's an epic fail.
No, it was awesome. It was super adorable.
Thank you.
I love it. You gotta have fun. Gotta have fun. All right. Well, I appreciate so much you coming on and being part of this happy hour. It's been great to meet you. It's been great to get to know you a little bit. Because I'm super happy that you had that awesome happy accident to become a part of this industry. You're obviously killing it. And have a great perspective. So anybody who's watching this, make sure you go check her out. Watch all her goofy videos and show her some love and support. She's been doing this for a long time and has, you know, probably a little bit of a different perspective than some of the newer ladies coming into the industry now, or just younger folks in general. Male, female, doesn't really matter. So definitely show her some love and support. Kimberly, thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit. I'm going to hit you up in a message after this because I need your address so I can send you a little gift to say thank you. We definitely have to keep in touch. And for now, I'm going to thank everybody else for tuning in and watching and hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed meeting Kimberly as much as I did. You can always go back and watch this again in my IGTV tab. You can watch all of the past episodes as well. Make sure you come back next week to meet another awesome tradeswoman. And until then, be good to yourselves, be good to one another, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.